Hey everyone, it's Luke here from Astro Awakening. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's been a little while since I put a content out on this platform. The end of 2023 for me has been hectically busy, and even that's taken into 2024. So haven't had an opportunity to put as much content out here as I'd like to. So I'd like to think that that's going to change, but I'm so busy at the moment, professionally, personally. There's a lot going on. So what I wanted to talk about in this video was the Capricorn New Moon that we're going to have. It's the first new moon of 2024. And this is a really, really powerful, potent new moon. So I'm going to use the whiteboard to sort of illuminate the different aspects and alignments and give you a little bit of a background on what you can expect with this particular energetics. Now, the year certainly kicked off in a bang. We had the Japan earthquake, followed by the Japan airline disaster, and we've now had the Epstein files being released with a lot of information that we already knew, but it's becoming now more public and mainstream. And now we've also got like UFOs or aliens or something happening. What I will stress is there's going to be a lot of chaos when it comes to information. There's going to be a lot of unpredictability. There's going to be a lot of news stories. It's going to be going from one thing to the next as we move through this year, especially as we get towards the eclipse in April and beyond. And as we have Jupiter moving this year from Taurus into Gemini, we're going to have a year or a bit of Jupiter in Gemini, and Jupiter expands the quality of Gemini, the air sign, which is mutable and deals with the media, the information, the story, the symbolism. So, you know, Mercury, the planet, the zippy little planet, the shifty little guy, the god of communication, navigation, transportation, Hermes Trismegistus. When he's retrograding through next year, we've come out of the year of 2023 with Mercury retrograde. The next Mercury retrograde will be happening during the eclipse. The next Mercury retrograde will be happening when Jupiter is in Gemini. And Jupiter in Gemini is a Mercury-ruled sign. We're really going to get into a place of there's going to be so much information coming at you left, right, and center. It's really going to be difficult to discern. The best thing you can do is detach. Okay, so don't necessarily believe every fucking thing that you hear or every fucking thing that you see. Question everything, use your discernment, and if it sounds like a duck and it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's a fucking duck. So even if they're trying to tell you it's not, it's a duck. So anyway, so we're going to look at the astrology for this new moon because it's a really potent new moon. We're in the sign of Capricorn. Capricorn is very industrious. It's a sign that deals in practical, grounded, pragmatic, methodical, ambitious climb towards some type of notoriety or nobility, some type of worldly accomplishment or achievement, goals, ambitions, business, banking, government, structure, routine, discipline. It is one of the signs of the disciple on the path of initiation through self-initiation, really coming into life's challenges and learning how to annihilate or dissolve or break down the ego, and by in turn the emotional sort of grip that the ego uses to keep us stuck in our discomfort or in our unawareness or in our limitations. So it's a really matter-of-fact sign. You know, it's like it doesn't deal in niceties and pleasantries and what makes you feel good. It just gets in there and gets the job done. So we start the year with some Capricorn energy. Mars, the planet of action, the god of war, the planet of motivation, desire, action. Also the god of accidents and sharp instruments, war and those types of things has moved into Capricorn, a sign of exaltation. Why? Because when Mars is in Capricorn, Mars, which is our will to, you know, express oneself, to act, our will to exert energy or force, when directed into the cardinal earth sign of Capricorn, we can use that will directed towards the accomplishment of our worldly ambitions. So planet Mars is in high exaltation. It's opposite Cancer, which is a really emotional place, and Mars is full, because Mars, when in operating through Cancer, it can respond from emotions, it can act from emotions. And when we're acting from our lower emotions, we tend to create conflict a lot for ourselves and other. So, you know, when Mars is in Cap, it's like there's not an emotional drive here. It's just about getting down to fucking business and getting shit done. So this new moon that's coming in on the January the 11th, which is this coming Thursday, what you're going to look for in your own natal chart is the house of your Capricorn house. For me, it's my second house. So you want to check on your house system, whatever house system you're using, a whole sign, equal sign, or Placidus, Coke, whatever it is. Check your house with Capricorn on the cusp. This is most likely where this new moon is taking place. That's going to help you understand the personal themes. And it's important to understand the personal themes. What are you initiating? What are you changing? What are you using brute force, energy and will, drive, stamina, determination, action to get done, to initiate, or to at least move in the direction of your aims, your ambitions and your goals? So look specifically to the house that this new moon is falling in, and it's really going to help you understand the themes. Now, having said that, this new moon activates a lot of planetary energies, and well as Mars also activating from Capricorn a lot of other planetary energies. So those of you in Taurus, okay, so that have had Uranus moving through the sign Taurus, those around the 18, 19, 20, 21 degrees of Taurus, you want to look to this new moon as well, because it's happening from 20 degrees of Capricorn. So it's really going to tune in to whatever that story is that Taurus is representing for you. Uranus is representing for you. Uranus is about change. Uranus is about epiphany, the download, the revelation, the aha, the higher mind, the breakthrough, the clarity, the objectivity, but also about upheaval and chaos and rebellion. And you know, it's the non-conformity energy. It's like not desire to go along with the status quo anymore. If you're feeling stuck, restricted, or anything like that, Uranus energy is about breaking from that, and sometimes suddenly and quite volatile. So Uranus is also slowing down to station. We'll look at that shortly, and we'll move not long after this new moon into direct motion. Then we'll have all planetary energies moving direct, and we're really going to get a real forceful drive with this new moon moving forward. Now, Mars is also activating Jupiter and Saturn. So, you know, those of you with Pisces placements and Saturn going through there, those of you also in Taurus placements with Jupiter going through there, this is really going to activate whatever that story is that Saturn is representing for you. And not only those of you that are Pisces, Taurus, and so on, look for the placements within your birth chart where you have Pisces, Taurus, Capricorn placements in particular, because they're going to be really, really activated with this new moon. So let's take a look closely at the new moon. So here's my little board up here. Where am I? Here we go. So the new moon is happening in Capricorn with the sun conjunct the moon. First thing I want to address with this new moon is it really is a bit of a turning point into 2024 in relation to the past patterns of behavior that you're learning to overcome or leave behind or let go of, and by extension any part of your reality or relationships that were dependent upon you behaving a certain way, and then also looking towards the future and what are you evolving towards, what type of experiences are going to help you grow and evolve to the fullness of your soul's expression. So the new moon is actually exactly square the lunar nodes, and the lunar nodes are at the moment north node in Aries, south node in Libra, okay, trial by fire, the north node in Aries. As soon as we had the north node move into Aries last year, we had the Maui fires. It was a real symbolic sort of microcosm of the macro transit of the nodes through Aries and Libra. So interesting that fire theme, that martial theme, is going to be really interesting to look at, especially anytime there are eclipses or anything that's really activating this nodal axis. But this new moon, 20 degrees Capricorn, is exactly square the lunar nodes. Right, so we have this sort of, the nodes are always in opposition to one another. Okay, we've got this square here and here, the new moon. So the new moon on the bends, right, squaring the nodes, it's almost like we're making this sort of turning point now, and we're making this sort of transition. We're also roughly about 3 months away from our next eclipse, and the next eclipse in April, the 9th of April, depending on where you are around the world, is going to be a massive eclipse. So more information on that as we get closer to it. I'll do a full video just on the eclipse alone, the planetary alignments and energies, looking at the cycles, looking at the Great American Eclipse, what it's doing to the US with the big cross over the US. So when we have a lunar, a new moon, new beginning, right? New moons are always about new moon, new beginnings, new intentions, seeding something for what? For growth, for initiation, for activation in our life. When it's squaring the nodes like that, it brings this karmic quality to it. Where this new moon, in order to initiate whatever it is you're moving towards, it's going to require you literally overcoming some sort of pattern of behavior, some reality, some relationship to an experience, an event, or even a person perhaps, where you're learning how to sort of let that go. And the tension that you might feel as you try to initiate action, in the obstacles you might face, might be in direct relationship to what it is that you're letting go of. What is taking you out of this liberated quality here? What is taking you out of balance? Where are you out of balance? Where are you having to compromise? Where are you having to please? Where are you having to give? Where are you having to do too much of that energy? It's almost like, you know, there's some aspect or quality of this that has to be let go of. It may involve, for some people, relationships as a theme now for your personal desire and what you want, as opposed to what you're supposed to be doing within your relationships, and how much you give of yourself in your relationships as opposed to how much you give of yourself. The interesting thing is, for me personally, this period for me is really about sort of taking some serious aligned action and really refining my personal habits and routines in relation to the ideal version of self which I'm working towards to evolve towards my fullness. So part of this for me is also my relationship to indulgence that I'm also learning how to overcome as I get really serious here with Capricorn, start to look at some of my routines, habits and behaviors, my relationship. Yes, to what am my relationship? Well, the things I used to overindulge. And that's really been a big theme the last quarter of 2023, as I had a lot of personal stuff going on and I felt that I sort of probably dropped the ball to an extent with some things, because end of the year, a lot of pressure, very busy. The next thing, you're not eating as well, you're drinking too much, all those types of things. So in those types of experiences, think of like, what are you sort of fundamentally, finally, really overcoming and letting go of? What are you letting go and leaving behind? And how are you going to grow and evolve? Well, North Node Aries is about self-assured, self-confident, self-belief, self-assertive, self-centered, and the balance act here, right? As we sometimes have to just get shit done, we're going to have to really address our relationships, and where we can't get shit done because of our dependency or codependency or commitment to our relationships, which causes this sacrifice of, our personal will and desire. So sometimes we just have to let that go a little bit. Perhaps there is a toxic, negative, relationship that this pattern of behavior is reinforcing, and that also may leave behind as a result. Perhaps it's just an aspect of the way you relate in your relationships that has to come to an end, that you're letting go of. So that's the first sort of thing that we'll look at with this new moon in Capricorn. The second thing I want to look at here is Uranus. Uranus, the planet of freedom, liberation. Okay, now Uranus has been in Taurus since 2018, currently sitting 19 degrees of Taurus. So anyone with placements between 18, 19, 20 degrees of Taurus, This new moon in particular is going to be very potent and powerful. It's happening at 20 degrees of Capricorn, and Uranus is at 19. So the day before the new moon, which the new moon is the 11th, on the 10th, there's an alignment with the Sun and Uranus in trine to one another. And then on the moon, the full moon, it is a trine, but it's a separating trine. So the exact alignment. So we have this trine from the new moon to Uranus. The day before on the 10th was the Sun trine Uranus. As Uranus is stationing. So this is happening on the 10th. We've got about 10, 17, maybe 2 and a bit weeks of Uranus before it goes direct. So Uranus is definitely coming to a slow stop. It's energy of change or liberation, and really get to this sort of break point where things really come to a culmination and then release, is certainly building as we move towards the end of January. So the trine, when we have a new moon initiating this Uranus energy, the trine is like, okay, well, there's change about, and the new moon is to initiate what new changes in your life, what new direction. How have you been integrating the changes that Uranus in Taurus has represented with a shift in our values, our monetary sort of habits and behaviors, and the way we look at money and how we value it, and material possessions we need to acquire, to have, and to hold in order to feel secure. And how with Uranus and Taurus has that shifted? 2018, Uranus moved into Taurus. For a lot of people, 2020 was a real awakening point. And then as we moved from that point, what happens generally as you awaken, as you start to reevaluate and reassess your life, you tend to move more away from the material acquisition of some sort of, a measure of value, right? Like, I got to work to get the Ferrari, or I've got to get the, top paying job or whatever. And as you sort of really awaken, you realize it's all an illusion. That's not to say that you can't partake in those things, but the drive to what you do and how you contribute and where you find fulfillment, you find that you're less driven by material acquisition. And that can be troubling and problematic to integrate, because sometimes your very survival needs are met by how you earn your money. And all of a sudden you can't go to that work and sell your soul just to earn the money, but your survival needs are dependent upon you going to work and selling your soul for that money. So how do we liberate ourselves from that, and then integrate that liberation, a liberation change of our awareness? Our mind is expanded, our consciousness is opened up, but then how do we integrate that into our normal life, and how do we live, and how do we take care of our needs? Usually what happens is you have a reevaluation of your basic needs, and you stop going out as much, you stop spending as much money, you stop indulging in things, you stop buying some useless things that you don't need to keep in the corner so you can wait for the next latest thing, so you can buy the next thing and put it in the corner. So this Uranus energy has been a lot about the liberation of our fixed values around what we need to have, possess, or hold in order to feel some level of security. And what you find when you awaken, really, there's many levels of that, is that when you awaken, you realize I have everything I need. And my state of being, my place of feeling content, fulfilled, accepted, loved, recognized, valued, is independent completely of what I have. I don't need money in the bank and a house and a car and whatever that fill in the blank in order to feel value and worthiness. Whereas prior to the awakened, consciousness, it's conditioned into this mindset to think that those are the very things that you need to possess in order to feel some sort of sense of value. So this Uranus energy is interesting. It's still got another year and a bit to go through Taurus. Next year it'll go into Gemini, the next sign, then come back into Taurus, then go back into Gemini. So next year, 2025, some big shifts with Uranus. But this new moon, square the nodes, a big turning point, is trining Uranus. So this is power and potency and change. When there is Earth here and Earth here, there is a free flow of energy between these dynamics. No obstructions, nothing to stop it. It's swift energy, powerful force. The day before the new moon, on the 10th, Mars is sitting in Capricorn. We'll show you that shortly. The moon comes along and hits Mars as Mars trines Jupiter and the sun trines Uranus. So we've already had a lot of geological shifts this year with Japan earthquakes. And I even think there was earthquakes in New York and California. We've got the volcanoes in Iceland and things like that. There's a lot of geological pressure that's being released through either volcanic or earthquake activity, potential tsunamis. Always when we're looking at Earth, whether it's mutable, fixed, or cardinal with the Virgo, Capricorn, Taurus energy, we're looking at the potential for earthquakes and earth movement and earth shifts and powerful changes when it comes to Earth. Cardinal Earth, the mountain, mutable Earth is like the sands, the shifting energy, and then the fixed Earth is the stable aspect. So these qualities are being activated. The 10th is a key date just before the new moon, as we released a lot of the last lunar cycle and starting into this new lunar cycle. Just be mindful of geological shifts, be watching the news for those types of things, potential for those to manifest. So with the new moon, we're going to bring in now, we've got up here Mercury sitting into 27 degrees of Sagittarius, and over here we have Neptune 25 degrees of Pisces. So Mercury is still in shadow over here, shadow. So he started retrograding in Capricorn mid-December, went back to 22 degrees Sagittarius, and now is moving forward again through Sagittarius, but still hasn't cleared its shadow period there. The interesting thing about Mercury is the square that's happening on this new moon to Neptune. And in fact, that square is more active now, moving in, because we're filming this a few days before the new moon. Mercury square Neptune, what is real, what is not? And what have we just recently had? We had the, whatever that was going on in Miami. I still haven't unpacked all that, but we had that going on at the same time was the Epstein drop, right? The interesting thing I want you to think about is the grand conjunction on the winter solstice of 2020, all right, at 0 degrees Aquarius. Now, what was going on? What was the main theme of 2020, 2021? Well, 2020 was the novid, and 2021 was the response. And the response was, or the solution was inoculation, mass inoculation. So the grand conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn, 0 degrees Aquarius, really seeded a shift for us in this narrative of like, we're going to solve the world's problems by doing a mass inoculation. If you ask me, the alien story, the Epstein story, or the scandals, and even the election that's going on, or the possible election, all the geopolitical stuff is all a distraction from the truth about what happened during that time. Who was involved? When was it planned? How did they do it? Who's responsible? And the results as possible. Because what's happened as a result of the mass inoculation is there's been a skyrocket in all-cause mortality. In other words, huge amount of people are dying, not from the supposed boogeyman that they said, but the very thing that they sold you to think was the solution to the boogeyman is causing this huge spike. So we have potential for a lot of the subversive and hidden and concealed, controlled, manipulated aspects of that story to really come to the surface. But with this Mercury in its debilitation in Sagittarius, Mercury likes to be in Gemini, and Gemini deals with the facts. In here we deal with, the preconceived sort of understanding or meaning, or we deal with the morals, we deal with the one-eyed sort of perspective, we deal with beliefs, we deal with, the personal projection of knowing, right? We don't really deal with the facts. And then we have this square happening between Mercury and Neptune. whenever there is Mercury and Neptune energy, we're able to tap into our imaginative skills, right? Tune into our frequency of visualizing and meditating and those types of things, and being more imaginatively and creative, and tapping into our feminine quality of brain. Reasoning, rationale, logic, discernment tend to be challenged with this type of alignment. Mercury's still in shadow, squaring the Neptune that's in Pisces. It's like, what's real, what's not, and what can you trust as fact and what can you not, what's being manipulated, what's being presented in a way just to sort of convince you or to control your outlook. That's the story that's going on with this Mercury here. Now, another aspect that's happening as well is Venus. And remember, Venus is the ruler of Taurus and Libra. Okay, so Venus is sort of in charge of Uranus and Jupiter and the South Node at the moment. Venus is also in Sagittarius. And over here in Chiron, just near the north, in Aries, just near the north, where we have Chiron. And what's happening here is we have a trine between Venus and Chiron. So again, with Chiron, we're dealing with our sensitivity where we're hurt, right? Collectively hurt. We always have an opportunity with Chiron to do a lot of healing, but also to feel a lot of pain. So Venus ruling over the Taurus energy, the change that's happening within our relationship to our fixed values, this Libran quality here and what we're letting go behind. There is this alignment on this new moon to sort of really bring this sort of sensitivity, so potential for some big overcoming, some deeper wounds around self-assertiveness, and where we feel a little bit vulnerable when it comes to expressing ourselves without feeling like the need we can. You know, like the generation with Chiron in Aries was the generation of you to be seen and not heard. Children are to be seen and not heard. So they weren't able, they're very right to exist and to express and to assert and to sort of say this is who I am, was really damaged a lot as one sort of theme for that age. So we're able to really bring in a lot of love, self-love in this here. And to really love oneself is to learn how to overcome the hurt, overcome the wound, overcome the emotions. It's an act of self-love. Self-discipline is an act of self-love, right? To really become really disciplined and to be able to accomplish what you set about to. You set a commitment to something and to be able to achieve it is an act of self-love. But sometimes you've got to overcome where you've been hurt, where you feel incapable, where you feel not strong enough. So Venus trining Chiron on this new moon, it's like there's this opportunity here to do a lot of healing, especially in context to relationships as well. And if there are relationships that are being let go, whether they're to yourself, to your habits and behaviors, to your world, to your reality, to your life, to your friends, to your colleagues, to your work, to your partner, then loving yourself through that is important as you make a transition to the next stage of your life. Or you can stay stuck in the past. Choice is yours. Now, let's bring in Mars. Mars is sitting up here. Let's use red for Mars, because Mars is a fiery little guy. Mars is sitting up in here, exalted in Capricorn. You want to get shit done. You want Mars in Capricorn because you want to act. You want to exert yourself and your will and your force, and you want to put it towards the aims of your commitments, responsibilities, discipline, right? Got to get in there and get it done. Overcome the emotions and just do what needs to be done. So Mars is in exaltation in Capricorn, and during this new moon, Mars is making a trine to Jupiter in Taurus and a sextile to Saturn in Pisces. So Mars is really supported. So Mars is in very strong support from Saturn in Pisces, Saturn ruling this new moon in Capricorn, and Mars Saturn sextile is about, you know, the ability to make lasting changes or commitment or structural changes to whatever it is you're trying to initiate. If you need to start something but then to continue it, to persist in it, to really get it done, you want to really support that Saturn and making shit real. So Mars sextiling Saturn on this new moon is a really powerful force. That's why I think this new moon in particular for a lot of people is going to be about initiating something, getting going, stop making excuses and just getting in and getting it done, overcoming emotions, finally sort of committing to oneself. You know, so start small, grow tall, have your goals, broken down into bite-sized pieces. In actual fact, this whole month would be an opportunity from this new moon, right, moving forward, would be an opportunity to think macro, micro. So think macro, micro. Let's say that you have reached your goal, whatever that you set yourself out to be, and that once you'd reached your goal, your life would then look a certain way. Your routine and habit would look a certain way. When would you get up? What would you spend your time doing? What would you give your energy to? What wouldn't you give your energy to? How would you eat, exercise, maintain good wellness? How would you show up in your relationships? Like, think idealistically, big picture. And we're thinking from the perspective of we've already achieved what we set out to achieve. Now, how does your day look? That's the big picture, right? How does your day look? Now think with this month, imagine making a cosmic version of that big picture and then getting up every day and emulating that reality through your habits, your routine, and what you do. Now that's going to take a lot of will and commitment and consistency and persistence and stamina and drive and exert. Like, this is the new moon. Perfect for that. Mars is also trining Jupiter. So Mars trine Jupiter is like, it isn't some sort of little mini task that you're setting yourself to. This is a big thing that you can really put this energy to something that's going to create huge change, or at least the potential of the opportunity for massive growth in your life. And the thing is, people think they get stuck on this like big idea of like, I gotta win $1 million. It's like, no, what about if we just started to act every day as if we would if we'd won the $1 million? Now, without, the ego looking at the current life and going, well, I'm eating a fucking Vegemite and toast for dinner. You've got to suspend that reality already exists. We're trying to create a reality that doesn't exist. So then we can just get up and how are we going to act? How are we going to be? What's our state of mind? And how do we then reinforce that way of being with our little micro habits, right? This new moon is about initiating those things. So we bring in Jupiter, and now we have Saturn, the final planet that we're missing here that we haven't really spoken about. And let's make him blue because he makes a lot of people blue, and that's Pluto. And Pluto sits at 29 degrees Capricorn. So this new moon is at 20 degrees Capricorn. The Saturn-Pluto conjunction on the 12th of January, 13th of January of 2020 was at 22 degrees Capricorn. So we're really digging up a lot of stuff that was going on in 2020 here. We're really bringing to light. The interesting thing about Pluto sitting at 22 degrees is this new moon sees the sun moving towards a conjunction with Pluto. However, something very mystical and magical happens as we move out of this new moon moving forward. The new moon on the 11th, on the 21st of January, both the sun and Pluto move into Aquarius together. And they hit and activate 0 degrees Aquarius. Pluto, the god of the underworld, the unseen, the unconscious, the hidden realm, moving into the air sign of Aquarius, awakening, knowing what is truth that's being buried is it going to reveal. And the sun, at the same time, being a source of light, being consciousness, being awareness. When the sun ignites or initiates things, it comes into light. Just like every day when the sun rises, we can see. What are we going to see when this is going on here? Pluto into Aquarius. And then interestingly, after Pluto moves into Aquarius, then we have Mercury, then we have Mars, then we have Venus. And then a little while later, we have the moon. So all the personal planets, all the inner planets will make a conjunction with Pluto just as it's ingressed into. And in fact, Mercury and Venus will be via declination parallel to Pluto is its time of ingress. So it's really amplification of whatever this story that Pluto is going to represent. Now, we're in this Mercury and detriment squaring Neptune, and they like to confuse and misdirect a lot. So, you know, what's the real story that's going on? Is it Epstein's client list, right? Is it aliens? Like, what is the story? I would look for massive misdirection around this period globally, in the sense of like them sort of saying, you know, look over here, or don't worry about that, you know. And in relation to the Epstein stuff, like there's a lot of this that we already knew. Those who've done their sort of research into this stuff years ago, and some people were awakened by this knowledge of truth. I think the aspect of it that's coming into more public awareness is a good thing to help really wake up more of the normies. But my question is, does anything really change? Is anyone really going to go to jail? Are they already going to jail? Are they sitting in Gitmo? Like, what's the story? Are we ever going to know the truth? Does it really matter? Does it really matter? Like, really, at the end of the day, how does it change things? It doesn't. You know why it doesn't? Because that's something outside of you thinking that when it changes, your world's going to be somehow better. All we need is all the bad men to go away, and we need some sort of savior to come, and everyone's going to be lovely, and isn't that going to be utopia? They want to sell you that idea, and the real change happens in here. And when you change, the world changes. And this new moon, this is a time of deep, immense, potent change. Yes, we moved into a new year. We're not quite in the Chinese New Year. This new moon leads us into the next new moon, which is the Chinese New Year, and the year of the dragon. So there's a lot of energy coming in with this, a lot of changing energy, a lot of things changing. What in your life are you ready to change? What are you ready to sort of just roll up your sleeves, stop making excuses, overcome the victim, the poor me, the blame, or the weight game that most people play? And when you wait, you put on weight. You put on weight cosmically, consciously, energetically, physically. When you sit around waiting, that's the whole game here. And they want to keep you in this place of comfort so that you can just wait. Oh, well, maybe tomorrow. Or maybe the next thing and the next thing. This is the time. This Aquarian energy here is about awakening, right? It's about community, about coming together. It's about connectedness, but it's about individuating as well. It's about individuated consciousness, you know, that can then come into this collective idea of consciousness. And we each have a unique perspective that's just as divine as the next person, and no one perspective or point of view or human being is above another. Whereas in the system that we currently live, the toxic patriarchal system that we currently live, this hierarchical system of like, well, because you're this or you're that, or you have this or you did that, or that you are somehow some sort of valued more. And really it's time to value each of us and each of our unique perspective and our ability to contribute. The other thing about this Capricorn Aquarius energy is it is about contribution. It is about the law of equivalent exchange and energy in, energy out. Not you're going to get a free ride, you know, and you don't have to do or contribute in any way, and you can just rest on the laurels of others, and you can. No, it's just moving into this time of radical personal responsibility, and what you put in is what you get out. The law of equivalent exchange. Excuse me for 1 second. Turn that down. So anyway, that's my new moon breakdown. I'm Luke from Astro Awakening. If you like this type of astrology and you want to get a personal reading, I'm doing my year ahead readings at the moment, right through to the end of January and possibly slightly into February, because there's always people that want them last minute. But I've been doing a lot, and the big themes for this coming year are really the Pluto transit into Aquarius, which is activated on this new moon, and then activated via all of the other personal planets. And in particular, Mars on Valentine's Day will make a conjunction 0 degrees of Aquarius with Pluto. The second story for 2024 is the Great American Eclipse happening on the 8th, 9th of April, happening at 19 degrees of Aries conjunct Chiron. That Chironic story, the Chironic wound. Then we've got Mars moving into Aries. We've got a Mars-Saturn conjunction, a Mars-Neptune conjunction, a Mars-Uranus conjunction, a Mars-Jupiter conjunction, and Jupiter is moving signs into Gemini. So this is going to be a massive year of change. Like the last few years post-COVID has felt a little bit like, is it back to normal or isn't? There's this underlying tension. There's this, people are like, what the fuck was that? What the fuck happened? You know, and like, it's just this real weird place. I don't think you're going to have that sort of story to tell by the end of this year. I think there's going to be a lot of jaws on the ground, eyes wide open, and a lot of people that are like really brought into this. It's okay. Bless you. My son's just laying on his little bed here while I do this little video breakdown. So yeah, that's not to alarm people. That's not to scare you into thinking like, oh, what's going to happen? The best way to predict the future is to create it. And what hopefully this can help you do is work in the confidence and the self-belief and a little bit of cosmic motivation that, you know, you're here as a created being. It's time to take responsibility for every aspect of your being, your state of being. So one thing, no matter what, they cannot take away from you. So if you allow what is happening in this outer world to impact or affect or control or to limit or restrict in some weird way your state, then you are being controlled and you are no longer the author of your story. You are being at the whim of some external authority. Now here we have the sign of authority, and it's time to author your story. No more waiting around. The time is now. It's time to get down. On that note, yeah. Thank you to every one of you. I can't wait to a massive fucking 2024. It's going to be epic. So I really appreciate your support. Sorry I haven't been on here as long, and I'd like to say that's going to change, but who knows what's going to change in that area. I think big things are coming for Astro Awakening and Luke this year. You know, I'm on an upward trajectory, and I'm meeting some amazing people that are really stepping up to the plate of self-transformation, and I'm happy to support their journey. If you'd like me to support yours, reach out. Otherwise, peace out.